Kumoko was a lonely outcast, mocked by everyone for being totally uncool. Suddenly, a massive beam of light nuked the school, instantly wiping every single student out. Next thing she knew, she woke up as a spider. Seeing this nightmare fuel would definitely send any arachnophobe straight to therapy. She's now loaded with an RPG interface, complete with levels and skills. She can supposedly take on dragons now. If you want a ticket to a fantasy world, smash that like button and drop a comment. Let us know what monster you'd want to become. Being a rat sounds fun, but let's move on. Fresh out of the egg, she walked into a horror show where her siblings were busy eating each other alive. She tried to bail on the family reunion, but a massive spider showed up to murder her. That was actually her mom looking for a snack. Desperate to survive, she prayed for some kind of broken, overpowered ability. Just like in anime, a voice popped up offering her the appraisal skill for 100 points. She grabbed it instantly, thinking this cheat code was her golden ticket to survival. But this isn't some easy mode slime or vending machine adventure. This world is hot garbage, meaning her dream skill is actually completely worthless right now. It only identifies stuff, so she wasted her points just to read labels on rocks and walls. With 0 resources, she really needed to eat. The problem was this dungeon is packed with insanely lethal monsters. While looking for an exit, she spotted human feet and thought she finally found a savior in this mess. But getting closer, she realized it was just her dead brother. The shock made her lose bladder control, but since she's a spider, she just shot out white silk instead. If she started shouting battle cries, she'd look like a video game boss, but she just kept spinning her web. She built a fortress, but her extreme hunger made her sloppy, and the whole thing came crashing down on her. She was left with a gruesome choice, eating her siblings. Before starvation killed her, she chomped down, and the system rewarded her cannibalism with the Kin Eater title. That leveled up her stats and unlocked the Dark Taboo skill, along with some creepy heretic magic. Curious, she tried to figure out how this magic worked. She thought she was a genius, focusing all her energy to cast a spell. Then she noticed a frog caught in her trap, but it spat acid right in her eye, partially blinding her before she could react. The frog kept spitting poison, but once she unlocked acid resistance, she started dodging like a pro and finally managed to land a solid bite. As time passed, she kept grinding skills, or getting new abilities. The frog panicked and covered her in venom, but Kumoko swore this slime ball was going to be dinner. She leaped around, dodging attacks, until she saw an opening to strike from behind. She sank her fangs into its neck, ending the fight. She did a little victory dance, but one bite of the meat revealed it tasted absolutely disgusting. Still, it kept her alive, so she had to choke it down. Over the next few days, she farmed frogs and dragged them back to her newly built hideout. Her poison fangs leveled up, and her body started feeling weird. The system announced she hit level 2, boosting her stats and fully healing her injuries. But the party was cut short when she realized her web had snagged an actual human being. The guy tossed a fire bomb, torching her webs and escaping. He left a mysterious egg behind in the ashes, but Kumoko refused to quit. She rebuilt the whole base, adding a kitchen, a living room, and a bedroom. She even rigged up a vibration alarm system to catch intruders. But her stomach started growling, demanding a housewarming feast right now. She decided to crack open that rare egg the human dropped. Except the shell was harder than steel, so she tried smashing it against the floor with everything she had. But it didn't even scratch. Wondering what was inside this thing, she used appraisal, and proving how trash the skill was, it literally just told her it was an egg. It was pathetic, but that usage leveled the skill up, finally revealing it was actually a threshold dragon egg. That was cool info, but she still couldn't eat it, so she stashed it away. Suddenly, all her alarms triggered at once as fire started ripping through her new home. The humans were back with torches, forcing Kumoko to run for her life. They chased her relentlessly, and while hiding to catch her breath, she broke down. She had to flee while her home burned. It was just like her old life. Hated by everyone, homeless, and always stuck living in total misery. But she vowed to stop running, promising to get stronger so nobody could ever take anything from her again. It was time to evolve. For weeks, she battled frogs and lizards. Realizing she was the bottom of the food chain, she went deeper into the dungeon to try a new tactic. She started sniping monsters with webs from a distance to avoid getting hit. It was total cheese strats, but she didn't care as long as she survived. Suddenly, a horrifying noise echoed from the darkness of the dungeon. A stampede of monsters charged straight at her. Exhausted, she somehow managed to slip away just in time. She heard something weird nearby and used appraisal to see what was stalking her. It was a massive serpent that nearly flattened her instantly. No matter where she ran, the snake was right there. She wanted to run, but remembering her vow, she decided to stand her ground and fight dirty. She danced around with her webs, setting traps to chip away at its health. But one tail whip nearly zeroed out her HP bar, leaving her on the brink of death. She launched herself at its neck, biting down for dear life. The serpent smashed its head into the ground, trying to crush her along with it. She held on tight, driving her fangs deeper right before her health ran out, and finally killed the giant beast. Screaming in triumph, she leveled up as her experience bar hit the cap. She hit level 10, shed her skin, and unlocked a dozen new skills. Plus, it was finally time to evolve from being a basic spider. She had two choices: become a bigger, inferior monster, or a small monster, which meant evolving into a higher species while staying compact. She figured staying small and deadly was the way to go. So she picked the small evolution, and immediately passed out. When she woke up hours later, she looked exactly the same, but was back at level 1 and completely drained of stamina. That sucked. Starving, she started eating the giant snake she killed. This new form required way more food, and her stamina recovered painfully slow. On the bright side, she got thread control to act like a real spider, plus a detection skill to spot enemies before they spotted her. But the first time she used detection, the sheer number of monsters nearly fried her brain. Talk about spider sense overload. Relying on her new thread skills, she went on a rampage and took down 10 monsters in her new form. She finally hit level 2, and with appraisal at level 6, she realized level 10 was probably the evolution cap for everything. She decided to test out appraisal again, and it was actually useful now. Scanning herself, she saw her full stats and realized her speed was 10 times higher than anything else. Suddenly, she sensed humans sneaking up behind her and bolted, but those relentless jerks kept chasing her. The cave was packed with traps. 3 blue monsters blocked her path, but she squeezed past them, hoping they'd slow the humans down. But in the chaos, she slipped and fell straight into a massive abyss. Plummeting to her death, she shot webs to slow down but slammed hard into the wall. She slowed her fall, but then 3 giant bees started dive-bombing her. She barely managed to land without splattering on the ground. Suddenly, intense boss battle music started playing. She watched 3 huge serpents attacking the bees. She tried sneaking, but then Araba, the earth dragon, showed up. He effortlessly annihilated every monster in sight with a single hit. Here comes the final boss. Kumoko tried to bolt, but Araba stared right into her soul. She braced for death, but he just walked away, leaving a massive crater as a reminder of his power. She knew the next time they crossed paths, it would be game over, so she relied on stealth and got back to running. She spent hours trekking through hell, watching absurdly strong monsters eat each other. She hid for days, sleep-deprived, and with her hunger bar hitting 0. Finally, she found some snails and wondered why nobody ate them. She took a bite, and the obvious happened immediately. Her HP hit 0 and she died, so thanks for watching the video. See you later, bye. Just kidding. We aren't done yet. She literally yanked her soul back with a thread. That was way too close. In the darkness, she completely lost track of how long she'd been wandering. Then she bumped into those frogs again. It was the first real food around, so she massacred them and got the Poison Master title. This let her use poison magic, but honestly, she cared more about eating every last bite. Once she was full, she decided to test out that new magic she just unlocked. A skill panel actually popped up and it worked. But the MP cost was insane, making the magic pretty much useless. Figuring it was trash, she just stared at the grass and spaced out completely. She realized there was no going back to her old life amidst all this chaos. Snapping back to reality, she saw a giant monkey approaching. She tried to hide, but a whole squad arrived, wrecking everything. She kept low, but a weird monkey landed nearby, almost crushing her flat. She barely dodged the attacks, jumping up to bind its arms with her webs. The monkey grabbed the silk, spinning her violently. She cut the line, sending the monkey flying and tangling it up in the process. She sank her fangs into its neck, and the monster let out a brutal scream before finally dropping dead. That kill gave her enough XP to hit level 4. Exhausted, she looked for a nap spot, but a massive noise echoed through the cavern. A warning call to the others. Suddenly, an army of monkeys gathered right below her resting spot. She just couldn't catch a break. They started climbing, so she scrambled higher. But the monkeys started pelting her with rocks. Trapped, she realized she had to fight. She put up web shields to block the stones. Searching for a weapon, she remembered her poison synthesis skill. She started blasting them with poison, but her MP was draining faster than the monkeys were dying. To buy time, she started sticking them to the walls, but they just kept coming. Kumoko knew this wouldn't end until every single one was dead. Even though they were stronger than her, she was determined to win. Suddenly, a monkey grabbed her arm and ripped it clean off. 3 more lunged at her. She leveled up and dodged instantly, leaving her old shell behind as a decoy. That trick bought her a second, but they were relentless. One grabbed her leg, but she snared the whole group. When others tried to flank her, she tied them to a pillar and knocked the whole support structure down. The pillar crashed onto the monkeys below, exactly as planned. The wall collapsed on the rest, boosting her to level 7, but the fight wasn't over. 3 evolved monkeys were left standing. She tried the same trick, but one threw a massive boulder. She webbed the wall, taking cover from the chaos. She faced the final 3. One flanked her and launched a high-speed jump attack. Kumoko threw rocks and tried to web him up to knock him away. But the monkey was too fast and escaped, so she forced it to swallow a glob of lethal poison. The second one was already mid-air, charging. She netted him instantly and force-fed him poison too, only one left. She looked around, but the last one appeared behind her, biting her clean in half. Her HP hit 0 and her vision faded. But with her last breath, she thrust a poison spell into its mouth, killing it. As she fell, expecting death, the XP pushed her to level 9. And since leveling up fully heals you, she was saved. Just in time. Now that it was over, she took a bite of the monkey meat and literally started crying. It was delicious, tasting exactly like fish, best meal ever. She inhaled the whole thing. She unlocked the clairvoyance skill, but figured it wouldn't be much better than her basic perception. Since blind spots were still an issue, just then an eel monster appeared. Its stats were insane, hitting 4 digits, but it moved strangely. It was like she could see the future. That was clairvoyance in action. Predicting its moves made dodging effortlessly easy. Then the eel used an area attack to cut off her escape. She thought that drained its MP, but it was only half empty. Kumoko kept dodging until its MP finally ran dry. Her skills leveled up as she ran circles around it. When the eel struck horizontally, clairvoyance let her dodge faster than ever, but she couldn't evade the attacks from above. About to be roasted, she swung through the pillars like some kind of spider Tarzan. She burned all her stamina making fireproof threads, but the eel's blast was way too strong and incinerated her webs instantly. She persisted, hiding behind rocks to avoid the worst of it. She regrouped, but the eel had vanished. Clairvoyance warned her of an attack, and she dodged by a single hair. Now that it was grounded, she used her speed to evade everything until she found an opening. She injected poison straight into its mouth, dropping it instantly. Her poison was insanely overpowered. It wrecked the body, but she expected a huge level up from beating such a monster. But the eel used life exchange to heal itself back up. It learned that mid-battle. Seeing that, she decided to end this fast. She bound it up and drenched it in poison. It was her last resort, and she collapsed with barely any HP left. Immediately, the system bumped her from level 7 to 10. Her body began the transformation process again. Her stats skyrocketed, and she met the conditions for evolution. She hesitated. Without a home, evolving right now would leave her completely exposed and vulnerable. Checking her options, she found a class that gave the title Herald of Misfortune. It had huge combat potential, and honestly, the title sounded cool. Plus, she wouldn't grow in size, making it the perfect choice. Before starting, she decided to use the eel's corpse as a shelter. The scales were great defense, so she built what could only be described as a corpse house. And the evolution began. Hours later, she emerged looking completely different. Covered in spikes, she used her new claws to dig into the eel. She gained 30 new skills, and her claws tore through the meat effortlessly. It was the second best meal of her life. She devoured the whole thing in seconds. She wondered if she blacked out from how good it tasted. Anyway, she went back to checking her new abilities. She found Perseverance, which lets her spend MP instead of dying when HP hits 0, totally broken. She spent all her points to unlock it. However, her taboo level also went up, unlocking Heresy Nullification. Meanwhile, Hugo attacked Shun, demanding to know why he was hoarding so many skill points. Shun parried the flaming sword, barely avoiding the fire. Hugo declared that he would be the king, so he had to eliminate anyone standing in his way. His assassins would kill the other reincarnations, releasing a monster to frame Shun for the crime. Hugo planned to play the solo hero, claiming he avenged his fallen squad to boost his own fame. He mocked Shun's skills, easily dodging every single incoming attack. Shun couldn't land a single hit. Hugo slammed him into a tree. Powering up his flaming sword, he smirked, certain he'd won. Suddenly, a whirlwind blasted him away. The teacher stepped in, scolding him after already taking out his goons and that monster. Hugo tried to strike her, but she flattened him with wind. He hit the dirt, humiliated. The teacher used admin privileges, forcing him to submit. His stats crashed instantly, and his skills vanished completely. All that was left was some weird math formula only a nerd would understand. Meanwhile, the spider leveled up, upgrading her vision to telescopic mode. The name sounded dumb, but it actually gave her multiple viewpoints simultaneously. With 2 brains, she became a powerhouse as training days flew by. She hit level 3, and her life skill evolved into longevity. She asked her other brain if combining Cursed Eye with telescopic vision would allow long-range sniping. Also, detection finally hit level 10, but just like appraisal, it refused to evolve. Frustrated, she wished for a consolation prize, maybe a superpower or something cool. Suddenly, static noise returned, and a system alert rang in her head. The system announced that Administrator D heard her whining and evolved her skills into the Wisdom type. Now she was the ruler of Wisdom, and Taboo hit level 8. This spider is basically the main character of this world. She literally gets whatever upgrades she wants. Checking her new skills, she realized this wasn't normal. She had been playing like it was a game, but this was suspicious. Hearing Administrator D meant someone custom-made a skill for her just because she complained. That meant some godlike admin was watching and treating her life like a toy. It made her question if she even had free will. Meanwhile, Hugo raged after losing all his powers. Then a woman offered help. Since they were both reincarnated, she didn't mind giving him a hand. Hugo didn't even ask who she was. He just accepted instantly. Anything for revenge. Elsewhere, Kumoko was rocking out, deciding to live fast and die young. She declared she'd set her soul ablaze, but once she actually caught fire, she realized the gangster life wasn't for her and begged for help. Her HP hit 0, triggering perseverance, which drained her MP to keep her from dying. Her body-brain told her to quit the rockstar act immediately. She gave up and stopped moving completely. Trying to stay positive, she studied her wisdom skill and the ridiculously overpowered techniques she had just unlocked. To test her strength, she tried opening a hell gate but couldn't keep the magic seals stable. It collapsed and exploded right in her face. Controlling magic during combat was going to be complicated. Her body-brain argued that wisdom gave her too much info to process at once. She basically went full Fight Club mode, arguing with herself. They started fighting over the magic hat. Suddenly, proficiency maxed out, and the hat flew off her head. Another spider caught it, saying she'd handle the magic stuff. Parallel minds hit level 3, meaning she now had 3 functioning spider brains simultaneously. She wasn't just Fight Club anymore. She was a splitter. Walking along, she realized these skills were definitely giving her multiple personality disorder. Surprising, she only figured that out now. Before she could dwell on it, lava exploded nearby. She was in the middle stratum, surrounded by scorched corpses. Investigating the scene, a gigantic dragon erupted from the lava. Its stats broke the screen, but it was already missing half its HP. The dragon tried to stomp her, but she dodged just in time. It spat fireballs, but she used her speed to evade. Even though it was stronger, she stood her ground. Using all 3 minds, she activated her evil eyes and prepared a magic seal, but the dragon's breath nearly roasted her. Midair, she unloaded every spell she had at it, but nothing dealt any real damage. The dragon's tail grazed her leg, nearly deleting her entire HP bar in one hit. Even with evasion, thought acceleration, and future sight, she was barely staying alive. Her evil eyes did nothing, but seeing its low health, she realized she still had a fighting chance. She dodged relentlessly, trying to counter its speed, but the dragon's poison resistance kept rising as the fight dragged on. It charged a fire breath. She found an opening, coating herself in synthesized poison to withstand the flames. The dragon fired more fireballs, forcing her to cut her web to escape. She fell right towards its mouth. It rose to swallow her whole. It looked like the end, but this was all planned. She triggered thought acceleration, stretching time to make her move. With no fire in her way, she readied herself. She unleashed her ultimate poison blast, ordering her magic brain to pump out every toxin available. Parallel minds hit level 4, spawning yet another brain. She fired a poison sphere, but the dragon's fire breath incinerated her threads before they even touched her. The dragon's health halved again, but it recovered and squared up. It blasted fire at her but lost track of where she went. From above, she dropped a massive poison sphere, diving down to strike with her scythe attack. The dragon sank, and when she went for a follow-up, she saw it was dying. The recoil from her own attack ripped her arm off as the dragon fell. Just as she planned, she had used her phantom skill to fake her death with an illusion, while she hid on the ceiling, prepping her secret attack. Since her phone got toasted, she swore to stay tough no matter the cost. Lava illuminated her face as the music stopped. She realized the fight wasn't over yet. She survived thanks to perseverance, but the dragon was running on fumes with its last ounce of strength. She decided to unleash her backup plan, calling for her second magic brain. It finally came out of hiding. The three minds prepped their magic. She chanted abyssal magic, opening a gate of hell right on the ground. The doors sucked up almost all the lava, leaving the battlefield barren. She scared herself with that power, but the dragon was still somehow alive. Its stats were basically 0, but the next hit would determine the winner. She had to go all out. She jumped, binding the dragon with threads to lock it down. She leveled up like crazy, hitting 19 and unlocking the Dragon Slayer title. Before she could celebrate, the lava started flowing back towards her. She dragged the dragon away to eat it, but something weird happened. A mysterious guy noticed the dragon died and wanted answers. Using admin privileges, he decided to check it out personally. She unlocked Heavy Evil Eye to slow enemies, plus Cursed Eye to crush them and Paralysis Eye to freeze them. She's loaded. With this triple demonic eye combo, she felt like a total monster. The dragon's scales were too tough, so she couldn't eat it yet. Suddenly, static noise returned, and time slowed as she used thought acceleration. A portal opened, and a demonic-looking man stepped out. She couldn't read his stats, but he didn't seem hostile. He tried to speak, but she couldn't understand a word. She tried gesturing back, so he tossed a smartphone on the ground and Admin D spoke through it. The man held the phone while the admin told her to wait. They spoke a language so weird it sounded like gibberish invented by a bored kid. The guy dipped back through the portal, and the admin finally introduced herself, promising her friend wouldn't interrupt the spider's grind anymore. She was totally lost, having zero clue who this random crazy lady was. Admin D explained she could read minds, but usually didn't bother because she preferred binge-watching the drama from a distance. The spider asked why she was being stalked, and the admin admitted this survival journey was better than any streaming show. She revealed she was actually a top-tier evil god who had been enjoying watching the spider suffer the entire time. But she promised that if the spider kept surviving, she'd eventually get the answers she wanted. Then the phone vanished. Inside the Demon Lord's castle, the leadership held a conference, but honestly, nobody was making any sense. They argued about strategy and weapons, but it all seemed pointless compared to the chaos tearing the world apart. One guy refused to follow orders and wanted to march straight into war. When another tried to shut him up, the Demon Lord seized control of both using invisible threads. She told them to sit down before she deleted their atoms, ominously warning that the war was starting soon anyway. After the room cleared, a mysterious pale girl waited in the Demon Lord's chambers. She announced it was time for the current hero to exit the server, 7,000 miles away. Shun suddenly received the hero title, and his entire world started crumbling around him. The only way to get that title is if the current hero, his brother Julius, was dead. Realizing his brother was gone, he screamed in total despair. Meanwhile, the spider was still trying to figure out who D really was. She figured the admin was Japanese since she spoke the language, but instead of spiraling, she focused on escaping the middle stratum. She finally found the route to the upper stratum and moved out. On the human front, the war escalated and they lost 10% of their troops. A general congratulated the commander, but the commander pointed out that human strength has a hard limit. He asked if the general knew the legend of the Labyrinth's nightmare. 15 years ago, his squad went deep underground. Monsters were fleeing in terror, which was a bad sign. They suspected an S-rank spider was causing all the panic. They found massive webs blocking the path. He burned through them, but they soon realized a complex fortress had been built around them. They wondered if a mere spider could build something this architectural. They hoped it was abandoned, but then it appeared, staring down at them, freezing the leader with pure fear. Without attacking, the spider triggered countless skills and sealed the exit. It appraised the leader with a single glance. He appraised it back, realizing it was a level 19 insane. Among its insane skills was Height of Occultism, basically confirming he was dealing with a monster way above his pay grade. His appraisal got jammed. He tried to order a retreat, but the spider's eyes glowed and his soldiers dropped. He felt this creature had human-like wisdom right before his subordinate knocked him out to save him. A young soldier summoned legendary beasts to fight, but they couldn't even scratch it. The spider's demonic eyes flashed again, crushing the creatures into the dirt with gravity. The water summoned dissolved into a puddle, and the stone turtle just died instantly. One by one, the soldiers fell. Only the commanders remained in the teleport circle. The spider attacked, but the young soldier jumped in the way to block it. Sacrificing himself, he activated the teleport with his dying breath. The commander realized how fragile humans truly were, but he had a sinking feeling they would meet that nightmare again someday. Back in the war, soldiers identified a strange queen monster. Her name was unpronounceable, but hearing it caused the demon lord to snap her eyes open immediately. Meanwhile, the spider raged because her home got raided and torched the second she stepped out. She just wanted an apology, but they attacked her, so she claimed self-defense. And yeah, that nightmare was definitely her. At least she tagged them before they teleported away. She decided her priority was exiting the labyrinth. After that battle, the system bumped Kumo to level 20, unlocking a class evolution. She could become a creature known as the Form of Death. She started the process immediately, and her taboo level hit 10. The system started forcefully downloading forbidden information into her brain. Repent flashed on the screen like a broken ad. The taboo menu dumped the world's entire true history directly into her mind. When the installation finished, Kumo was paralyzed and disoriented, now knowing everything that happened since creation. She realized that if nothing changes, the world is going to end. It was up to her to change the destiny of her existence, but right now she just wanted to get swole. The only way to grow is to kill enemies, so her next target was the feared Araba. Back in the lower stratum, she saw a massive serpent way above her league and wisely hid. Araba would have to wait. Suddenly, the ground shook. With her telescopic vision, she watched the serpent pick a fight with Araba. Using gravity magic, the snake tried to crush Araba. It tried to pierce him, but Araba countered with stone shots. He bit the snake and started eating it alive. Gross, but Kumo was fascinated. It was a raw display of Earth Dragon power. As soon as he finished his snack, Araba fired a massive energy wave her way, reminding her how tiny she was compared to him. Determined, she went back to grinding XP. She obliterated monsters with her Annihilation Eye, but the recall literally burned her own eyes out. It was too dangerous, so she saved it as a last resort. She healed her vision and went looking for new punching bags. 2 Earth Dragons showed up, but she teleported away to tag them, wanting to fight them one by one later. First, she needed to prep the arena for Araba. The sky was choked with Vespoids blocking the air. Since Araba wrecked the snake on the ground, she needed the skies clear. The only way to win was to exterminate the bays first, but they kept swarming, and her detection couldn't track them. Even at level 1, their stings were annoying. Furious, Kumo jumped and used her threads like whips, casting area magic to nuke them. Her proficiency skyrocketed. She unleashed everything, slowly wiping out every insect in the area. This was the power of Height of Occultism mixed with heretic magic, which would let her deal massive damage to Araba later. Vespoids kept dropping until a general appeared. He charged and killed her instantly, but that was just an illusion. Hundreds of soldiers rushed her, and she finally spotted the hive. She opened fire on the nest, dropping the enemies and collapsing their home to level up again. Only the final prep remained for the Araba fight. She spent all her points on another deadly sin skill, Sloth. Araba finally arrived. His stats were 4 times higher than hers, but she was determined to make him regret sparing her. She jumped at him, firing shots, but nothing connected. She retreated with huge leaps, trying to bait him into an aerial battle. Araba was fast enough to keep up, so she unleashed a full magic assault. She filled the sky with arcane circles, raining projectiles down on the dragon. Some hit, but his HP regenerated instantly. It was a stalemate. Araba fired his breath attack, but Kumo tricked him, firing down into his jaw from above. It hit hard, but his tail nearly swatted her out of existence. Araba stood up, ready to cast magic. She tried to counter with a mirage, but while blinded, Araba rushed her. She barely escaped his jaws. Her threads were her only lifeline, but even those turned into traps thanks to Araba's earth magic. She struggled to survive, especially since her evil eyes weren't working on him. Araba spammed breath attacks and charges. Kumo dodged his assaults by a fraction of an inch every time. Suddenly, Araba stopped right in front of her. He realized he was caught in her trap. Using the distance, Kumo dumped a waterfall of synthesized poison onto the arena. Araba stuck to the wall to dodge. Kumo unleashed a flood to immobilize him. He destroyed her webs with breath, so she fired white spheres at him, but he broke through her defenses completely. The dragon's mouth opened to devour her, but this was exactly what Kumo wanted. The bite tangled him further in the webs. As he struggled, Kumo wrapped him in her rage and prepped a massive spell. Araba kept launching his breaths and charges at Kumo, who dodged by a hair from his countless assaults. Even though Araba was right in front of her, he did not advance. He had realized that he was trapped in her deadly web. Taking advantage of the distance, Kumo began to cast her poison synthesis against him. However, Araba dodged the immense waterfall of poison that collapsed over the place, while stuck to the wall. Kumo unleashed her torrential poison flood, keeping Araba temporarily immobilized. However, he managed to destroy her webs with a draconic breath, and Kumo launched her white spheres at him. But Araba dodged all of them, completely breaking through her defenses. Then the dragon's mouth opened, ready to devour her. But that was exactly what Kumo had planned. The bite made Araba entangle himself even more in the webs, and as he tried to escape, Kumo wrapped him in her rage and prepared one of her most powerful spells. Phantom pain shredded his mind while she prepped a magical nuke. Just as she got confident, Araba's golden radiance erased her webs, and he rushed her with insane speed. He activated every resistance possible just to nullify her. Her magic was now completely useless against his defense. He blew 40,000 skill points just to counter her. Determined to kill Kumo, he unleashed a firestorm that wrecked the entire cavern. Now nothing stood in his way. As he charged, Kumo realized his auto-regen had already fixed all previous damage. Then he completely vanished. He reappeared and almost squashed her, forcing her to climb. She ran for her life. Thought acceleration evolved into super thought acceleration, and prediction became literal future sight. Despite the upgrades, the fight dragged on, draining her stamina dry. Trapped against the ceiling with nowhere to go, Araba closed in, forcing Kumo to plummet straight towards the fiery hell below. Falling fast, she popped a medicinal orb for health and dove right at the magma. Araba relentlessly attacked, slamming her into a wall and nearly deleting her HP. Zero time to heal. Her only escape route was totally blocked. A stone pillar impaled her, pinning her down as Araba approached. Out of options, she used the Eye of Extermination, sacrificing her own eyes just to buy a few seconds. She had to sacrifice her web-casting ability just to stay alive. The ground was rushing up, and her dreams were about to shatter, especially with Berserker Araba crushing her from above. But she refused to die, trying to trick him again. She went for the high ground, but Araba snatched her in his jaws just as her MP ran out. She activated Rot Attack to shatter his jaw, sacrificing 2 legs in the process. She landed hard, but Araba was already prepping. Her legs were gone, and she started accepting that this was the end. No regrets, at least, but her memories refused to surrender. Totally drained, Kumo collapsed on the ground. Thinking she only survived by luck, she played her final card, the Sin of Sloth. Araba had zero chance of winning now. She converted his stamina into mana. Attacking his HP was pointless due to regen, so she targeted his energy tank instead. Sloth slowly drained his stamina points, the one stat that couldn't regenerate on its own. This was the plan all along. Now she prepped to finish him. The monster that traumatized her was finally about to become her dinner. But in his final moments, Araba stood up. He didn't look frustrated at all. He disabled his skills, stripping down to nothing as his life points plummeted. Kumo was furious. How could he accept defeat? She fought tooth and nail to survive, never giving up. She couldn't understand accepting death when she desperately craved life. Araba vanished in light, and Kumo stood up victorious. She hit level 29, and her body completely healed. The demon lord wondered if her minions heard about the spider who defeated an earth dragon. Back in the dungeon, Kumo finally reached the exit. That place sucked, but she survived it. Leaving with no regrets, she was ready for a sunny new life as a spider. She dashed toward the future, unaware a giant spider was waiting ahead. Outside, she found huge walls. She screamed in frustration, but spears immediately flew at her, knocking her back. Recovering, she saw soldiers ready to end her subscription to life. She attacked first, blowing up the walls and escaping. She leaped away and spotted a city in the distance. Stopping for a coffee break, she remembered she's still a terrifying spider monster that everyone wants to kill. Checking the system for help, she looked for a skill to blend in inside the city. She found Arachne, a skill that evolves her into a humanoid form. Excited, she rushed to get it but face-planted because she was absolutely starving. She hadn't eaten a thing all day. Suddenly, a massive headache hit. Her mother was commanding her to return. For a second, she almost obeyed. But using heresy nullification, she blocked the mind control instantly. After beating Araba, she knew she could face anyone. Nearby, soldiers were clearing rubble, but fled in terror when they saw an army of spiders approaching. The system warned Kumo that the horde was coming straight for her. Checking their stats, she realized they were all as strong as Araba. The leader had a weird name and was ready to brawl. Kumo charged forward, planning to lure them into a trap. But the leader cut her web, and the others smashed a tree down on her. She leaped into the air, dodging more falling timber. Some got stuck in her backup trap, so she rained black bullets to destroy the ground. Just as she celebrated, the monsters jumped out of the dust completely unharmed. They shot webs to capture her, but she dodged. Realizing they were all webmasters, she knew this fight was going to be brutal. She dodged and ran until a web snagged her leg. She ripped the thread apart to free herself and kept fleeing the attacks. The leader tried to eat her, but Kumo jumped up a tree. The spiders chased her into the air, but she caged them mid-flight. Despite their strength, they fell for a trap based on human physics. Jumping over the leader, Kumo cast teleportation magic. She warped everyone straight into the volcano, plummeting towards lava. She built a platform at the last second to save herself. The leader smashed her platform, but she jumped to another one and unleashed a barrage of dark magic on the enemy. The enemy used healing skills, regenerating health while cloning the platforms under its feet. The constant healing made it impossible to kill him with shots, so she summoned black spears to break the platform, dumping him into the lava to drain his health. She wasn't letting that meal go to waste. She fished him out and feasted. The system announced she maxed her XP, gaining 2 levels. Trying not to puke, she teleported back to face the remaining spiders. She warped the whole squad into the volcano. Time for a little spider barbecue buffet. Suddenly, a signal started ringing in her head. Mom was trying to summon her again. Annoyed, she entered her inner mind domain to handle it. She ordered her replicas to silence Mother for good. They needed to cross the portal and attack Mother's mind. Magic Brain asked what the plan was, but Kumo admitted she had no idea, just hit her hard. They crossed over and started eating their mom's soul. Free from parental control, Kumo wandered happily until she saw bandits attacking travelers on the road. Trying to stay hidden, she debated saving them. Seeing a baby in the carriage sealed the deal. She yanked a bandit out instantly. Swinging in, she picked them off one by one, piercing another. The last one tried to run, but she snagged his leg. She drained his HP until he dropped. She wished she could introduce herself like a cool knight, but since she's a monster, she just healed one of the victims and stayed quiet. A traveler spotted her, so she started leaving, but then a woman appeared with the baby. Using appraisal, Kumo realized the baby was a vampire and definitely another reincarnated person like her. Jealous, she threw a tantrum on the ground before bolting. In the forest, her alarm warned that elves were planning to kidnap the baby. She watched the carriage leave. She realized she was actually the lucky one here. Meanwhile, Shun and Su visited the king to discuss the summons. Su just blew his head off. Shun stood in shock while she started screaming. Knights rushed in and she framed Shun for the murder. They tried to arrest him, but Shun drew his sword and fought back. Once they saw his injuries, Hugo dropped the act and admitted he was the puppet master behind this mess, and that his brother was gunning for the throne. Su tried to take him out, but Shun used appraisal and realized she was actually brainwashed by a charm spell. Hugo started gloating, so Shun punched him. Hugo raised a barrier, but Sophia shattered it with a magic blast, forcing Shun to dive for cover. When Shun tried to scan Sophia, he saw that her entire status screen was completely blocked. Hugo lunged at him, but Oka blasted him back with wind and followed up with another burst. While Sophia just stood there looking dazed, Oka grabbed Shun and used a massive wind gust to clear out the knights. Shun wanted to stay and fight, but the girls told him the castle was a total death trap now. After Oka flattened a few more soldiers, the group made a break for it. Outside, they were greeted by an army of knights, ready to shut down their little escape attempt. Arrows started raining down, and the enemy forces moved in, using the absolute chaos as a smokescreen. They managed to slip into the forest that night to regroup. Shun wanted to take Hugo out, but Oka warned that Sophia was the real nightmare and they probably needed to kill both. Suddenly, the group was surrounded and the ambush was in full swing. Shun spotted Faye among the attackers and realized she was also being puppeted by Hugo. He tried to jump away, but she blasted fire at him, which he barely blocked. As she prepped another firestorm, Shun charged through the flames and put a sword to her throat. But he couldn't actually bring himself to do it. He tried to attack again and knocked her down, but she kicked him and leveled her sword at him. Right then, she started snapping out of the trance, but terrified of losing her mind again. She used magic to knock herself out cold. Shun tried to heal her, but she stayed under. His desperate scream triggered a light that finally woke her up. Oka kept the soldiers back, but Sophia didn't even flinch at the wind. Oka fired a massive blast, leading to a duel before Sophia grabbed her. Shun tried to help, but a soldier sliced his leg, and when he went to patch it up, he realized his mana for healing was totally tapped out. Thankfully, Faye swooped in and dropped a light nuke on the enemies, blasting Oka free from Sophia's grip. The group rushed to Shun, but Sophia gave chase until Faye blocked her with a massive fire wall. She circled back quickly so Shun could grab another teammate and get out. Meanwhile, inside the Spider Mother, Kumo's mental clones were still busy at work. The main brain wondered why Mom wasn't really putting up a fight. They figured she was probably just too busy managing her thousands of other kids. Still, the magic brain was suspicious that Mom hadn't sent a literal army of spiders after Kumo yet. Kumo suspected Mom knew she was a biological anomaly and was planning a more permanent solution for her. Suddenly, the Spider Mother shrieked at her brood and blasted a massive hole in the ceiling. The clones tried to escape to warn Kumo, but they realized Mom had trapped them and was ready to finish Kumo off. At the same time, Kumo was wandering the woods thinking about dinner, maybe some venison followed by fruit. She actually found a piece of fruit, but as she bit in, a massive leg slammed into the dirt. Kumo realized Mom had actually left the house just to kill her. Kumo checked the stats and saw Mom was a level 89 queen, way stronger than Araba. This was a losing fight. She bolted, but her mother didn't care about the scenery, flattening every tree to stay on her tail. Kumo wondered how Mom tracked her down, just as a blast of purple fire nearly incinerated her. She tried to teleport, but the queen kept spitting fire. From the air, Kumo could see the total path of destruction. Getting caught meant becoming a charcoal briquette, so she barely dodged and kept on running. Kumo evaded another blast and tried to put distance between them. She tried to teleport again, but Mom tried to skewer her, and a follow-up fire blast finally clipped her. Right before getting vaporized, she walked back to the caves at the very last second, barely alive. She realized her legs were scorched and tried to hide so her auto-regeneration could kick in. A spider found her and wrecked her web, revealing thousands of sisters waiting in the dark. Mom had predicted her retreat and left a literal welcoming committee to finish the job. Webs started flying, and Kumo dodged until one sister managed to sink its fangs in and inject venom. Kumo fought back with magic spears and climbed the walls, knowing her family was dead set on her murder. She saw that the perseverance skill was the only thing keeping her from the game over screen. Kumo used her own webs to escape, figuring her only chance was to lure them into the middle stratum. They blocked her path, so she used a poison mist to create an opening and made a run for it. The spiders were faster and stayed right on her, but she managed to find a small gap. Right as she reached the middle stratum, a puppet appeared and sliced her arms off instantly. She dodged the next hit and realized there was actually a spider inside pulling the doll's strings. This was Mom's secret elite unit. She was cornered between the puppet and the spider army. She dodged more webs and tried to think of an exit. Kumo fired dark projectiles, but the puppet blocked them all. She tried draining mana to heal herself while fighting. She couldn't multitask two major skills, so she used a smoke screen to go vertical, but the puppet cut her off again. She narrowly escaped a web barrage and realized getting to the middle stratum was totally impossible now. She tried to level up, but got caught in a web and nearly turned into a spider statue. Luckily, she used heresy magic to leave an illusion behind, tricking everyone into attacking a fake version of her. She started sniping with dark spears, but got caught in another puppet trap while trying to move. An enemy landed on her to crush her, but she deleted it with her evil eye. The weight was still an issue, so she used annihilating evil eye to vaporize the remains. She jumped on another sister and started eating her for health. While rolling around, she grabbed a spider and teleported them both straight into the volcano. Success, she fished the cooked spider out of the lava, wondering why puppets aren't in the manual. She was done with Mom's games and decided it was finally time to evolve again. Once the evolution finished, her stats went through the roof and the system gave her immortality. She realized she was becoming the most broken monster alive, with the ultimate cheat code enabled. With immortality, she didn't have to fear Mom's stomping anymore. She also got the champion's skill. This allowed her to inflict heresy fear, scaring off monsters without even having to lift a leg. Just as she wondered how she got so lucky, the world's goddess called her on a literal phone. She tried to ignore it, but the goddess threatened to flatten her like a pancake if she didn't pick up. Later, Kumo was enjoying a swim in the ocean, a luxury she never had in her old human life. She went fishing for breakfast, planning to let her clones drain Mom while she picked off the army. She hooked a dragon instead of a tuna, but since she's a pro dragon slayer now, she didn't panic. She dodged its fire and ended it with one dark spear before warping back to deal with the puppet. She dodged the puppet's charge and tried to web it, but the doll just shredded the silk. She summoned a flood and swam to the top. When it cleared, the puppet was knocked out. She went back to the ocean, but her magic brain detected a massive power level approaching. A blast rocked the coast as the new threat emerged from the dust cloud. Kumo's perception was blocked. She realized it was a level 139 ancient demon lord. She tried to run but got blown to bits. She wasn't dead though, thanks to those broken immortality skills. She was just a bit scattered. She waited to regenerate and used dark magic to blast a shark that tried to snack on her remains. Would you like me to continue with the next chunk of the script once you're ready? She thought about using healing magic to speed up the process, but she knew full regeneration would still take a few hours. And she couldn't risk burning all her MP since the demon lord could pop up at any second to finish the job. While waiting to respawn her limbs, she wondered why that monster was even stalking her. She figured her mother was the one pulling the strings, especially since next time, even immortality wouldn't save her soul. That was when Kumo realized she needed a much better survival strategy than just getting blown up. A few days later, she was back in one piece, leaping out of the water while snacking on a fish. She climbed a tree to get her bearings, and using her clairvoyance, she spotted a city. Right then, a carriage passed by, and she realized it was the same group of travelers she had rescued earlier in the week. Scanning the nearby bushes, she saw that those persistent elves were still planning to kidnap the vampire baby. At the traveler's estate, a squad of elves took out a guard and snuck inside, determined to grab the kid. But as they reached the nursery, they started dropping like flies because Kumo was sniping them with her cursed eye. She decided to keep the last one alive just so she could track him back to his secret village. She watched the remaining elves from the shadows, wondering why they were so obsessed with a literal infant. The next morning, she caught a group of elves praying to their goddess and decided to delete them with her cursed eye too. Within a few days, she had completely cleared out all the local bandits and creeps. The local lord thought she was just a disgusting bug, but the commoners were convinced she was a holy messenger sent by the heavens. It's funny how she's basically an ancient divine beast now, and they're treating her like a mascot. A local woman even approached her, begging the spider to heal her son who was on death's door. Kumo hopped down from her tree to give the kid a quick status check. She saw the boy had liver cancer and noticed the mom was starving and exhausted. It was a pretty depressing sight for a divine beast. She used her healing magic to patch them both up, and the grateful mother offered her an apple in return. By the next week, the entire city was basically a cult dedicated to Kumo. They called her a holy creature and started selling spider plushies to anyone with a few coins. Kumo tried to explain she wasn't a god, but the humans just thought her screeching meant she was looking for the restroom. Meanwhile, Shun and his squad reached the teleportation gate to the elven village. Since the forest was locked behind a barrier, this was their only way in. They warped into the village and were immediately met with elven spears pointed at their throats. Oka stepped up to introduce the team, explaining they were there to help stop Hugo's massive invasion force. The elves weren't buying it and told them to beat it, since they didn't trust humans as a rule. Suddenly, Potamus appeared out of nowhere and told the guards to let the group stay. The kids were terrified since they had literally watched Sophia murder this guy in the last episode. Inside the village, Potamus revealed that Hugo was coming with 80,000 troops and that the whole world thought Hugo was the hero. Nobody realized that Shun was actually the one holding the legendary title. That night, Shun started getting bad vibes. He suspected the elves were playing them and that Oka was hiding some shady secrets with Potamus. The next morning, they arrived at the special settlement for the other students. It was a little farm where the rest of the reincarnated class was stuck doing manual labor. A girl introduced herself as Sashi, and they quickly realized she was their old class rep. The other students came running over, super hyped to see some familiar faces for a change. As the reunion moved inside, Oka got all mysterious and just walked away without saying a word. Inside the house, everyone was catching up and feeling good about being back together at last. However, Shun did a quick head count and realized 2 people were missing, including Kumo. When he asked why they were all stuck in this village, Sashi explained that their own parents had sold them off like weird livestock. Back in the city, Kumo felt the demon lord leave the dungeon and start heading her way. She thought about running, but then she saw her mother was stuck and vulnerable in the lower strata. The spider mother was weakened by the mental clones, so Kumo used her broken teleport skill to go straight for the kill. Except, when she showed up for her easy victory, she walked right into a massive web trap set by her mom. The queen tried to bite her head off, but Kumo literally ripped her own legs off to escape the snare. Her mother tried to inhale her with a wind vacuum, but Kumo held on and dodged a blast of pure fire. More webs started flying, and Kumo fired back with dark magic, but it wasn't even scratching the boss's health bar. She was about to be turned into a cocoon, so she slashed through the silk like a maniac to stay free. She fell toward the floor, and her mother regenerated instantly, opening her massive jaws for a snack. Kumo wasn't about to die there, no matter how much her mother wanted her gone. Then the magic brain chimed in. It had absorbed a bunch of power from the mother's soul, while the clones were busy eating her mind. With that extra juice, they unleashed a nuke level attack, and Kumo's body healed back to perfect health. Her stats went through the roof, and she decided it was time to end the family feud. She blasted a colossal beam of fire, turning her mother into a pile of ash. After the kill, her brain reported that the clones had found a secret back door in the mother's psyche. They were now inside the demon lord herself, trying to eat her brain from the inside out. Kumo realized the demon lord was coming to the caves for revenge, so she pulled a vanishing act immediately. In town, some random knights confronted Kumo while she was eating, blaming her for breaking their magic spring. The villagers tried to stand up for her, but the knights threatened a full-scale war if the spider didn't surrender to them right now. Kumo just teleported to the woods to finish her fruit in peace and quiet. She noticed the knight leader was hanging out at the local lord's place, so she thought about moving to avoid the drama. But she didn't want the vampire baby to get kidnapped while she was gone, so she decided to stay and play bodyguard. She took a peek at the demon lord and saw she was busy fighting some huge monster in the dungeon. Relieved, Kumo tried to nap, but Gilly appeared through a portal and scared the life out of her. She knew this guy. He was the mysterious portal man from a few days ago. He gave her his name, but it was way too hard to say, so she just called him Gilly. Gilly told her to stop attacking the demon lord, which made zero sense to Kumo. She reminded him that the demon lord was the one trying to kill her, but he meant her clone in the lady's head. Kumo explained she lost the signal to that clone when she deleted her mother, so it was basically on autopilot. She couldn't stop it even if she wanted to. Gilly then told her to move out of the city because her presence was scaring the locals and she was too dangerous. Kumo flatly refused, revealing that her taboo skill showed her that the elves were the real villains trying to blow up the world. Gilly realized he couldn't win the argument and just teleported away into the night. She went back to her nap immediately, but her senses tingled just in time to dodge a cloud of flying knives. She used her skills to see who was being a jerk and saw a pile of human corpses. They were all goons belonging to that arrogant noble who tried to bully her earlier that afternoon. Next thing we see, the noble is having a total meltdown before dropping dead from the spider's poison. The other nobles were baffled by his sudden death and started pointing fingers at everyone in the room. They argued about who could have offed him without being seen. But a messenger burst in to announce that a neighboring kingdom had just declared total war. Kumo started panicking because she realized the war was probably her fault for killing that fat noble guy. She watched the local lord looking stressed out and wondered if he'd survive the coming slaughter. She felt bad about it, so she decided to give them a little help behind the scenes. Everyone geared up for the battle, and a massive magic barrier locked the battlefield down. With no way to run, the real carnage finally kicked off. The elves were the first to hit the front lines. It was a brutal fight, but the elves were getting absolutely hammered and had to fall back. Hugo was just too strong. He started beating the life out of an elf who couldn't escape in time. She managed to fire an arrow at her friend and trapped Hugo in a magic bubble. While he was suffocating, the entire situation suddenly flipped on its head. The earth split open, and she was tossed across the field like a rag doll. Hugo walked up to finish her off for good. The elf prayed for a miracle, and that's when Shun jumped in. Shun and Hugo started trading massive blows until Hugo managed to knock him back. Hugo yelled that he was going to kill them both to secure his throne once and for all. The injured elf tried to stand up and fight, but Shun told her to stay down and rest. Shun and Hugo squared off for the final 1v1 duel. Hugo released a dark aura, and they charged at each other at full speed. Hugo was swinging like a lunatic, but Shun landed a solid headshot and a gut punch that doubled him over. Shun moved in to end it, but Hugo tried one last mind control trick with his creepy eyes. Shun just ignored it. Ever since he became a dragon slayer, he was basically immune to that trash. Hugo told him to give up, but Shun just punched him again and kicked his sword away. Shun told him that no one owns the world, and everyone deserves a chance to live in peace. Sophia showed up and called Hugo a pathetic failure, saying he was just a tool for her plan. The demon commander appeared and announced their army was moving in to wipe out the village. They had used Hugo's forces as a meat shield to distract everyone from the real attack. Shun turned around to face Sophia, knowing the real boss fight was finally starting. Shun caught a glimpse of Yuri being hauled away and tried to chase after her. However, Sophia stepped in to block his path. He swung at her, but she literally pulled a sword out of the ground. She shoved him back, laughing and calling him a pathetic, weak little kid. He went in for round 2, but she dodged him like he was standing still, realizing he was no match. The squad decided it was time to back him up. Two side characters rushed the demon commander, trading energy blasts to push him off the field, while Oka fired arrows that Sophia just caught or swatted away while mocking their efforts. Shun and another random fighter tried a pincer move, but Sophia flattened them without breaking a sweat. She explained she was actually holding back because her master wanted them all alive for now. Oka kept spamming arrows, but Sophia blocked every single one with total boredom. Shun tried a sneak attack during the chaos, but got tossed like trash when he asked why they were being spared. Sophia revealed they're basically world admins and need the group's collective power for their grand plan. Cut to our favorite spider, Kumo, prepping for war and giving herself a ridiculous pep talk. She's loving the sight of everyone killing each other for her entertainment, mostly because she's about to rake in a mountain of free XP. She dives into the fray and triggers an explosion that would make a Michael Bay movie jealous. She's hyped about the level up, but then more fighting breaks out right next to her. Let's ignore that low-budget struggle and look at Shun's group, which is getting absolutely wrecked, though he's still acting like he has a chance against Sophia to win the war. Suddenly, some flying lunatic drops from the clouds and one-shots a poor side character with a single kick. When he lands to face the group, they realize he's the final missing student, and nobody can figure out why he's playing for the demon team. The guy, Kaiwuya, explained that the admins want the elves erased because they're a threat to the planet. As a demon commander, it's literally his job to participate in the elven genocide. With a snap of his fingers, a massive demon army surrounded the whole area. Suddenly, a portal opened for Shun, and elves appeared above with a message. They warned the demon lord was invading the village, and only the hero could stop her. Before the teleport finished, Kairuya skewered one of the elves, ending his life instantly. The other elves opened fire, but Sophia wiped them out with a wave of black mist. The elven leader got desperate and summoned robots through portals to charge at Sophia. She tried to miss them, but realized these tin cans were completely immune to her magic. Surrounded by heavy fire, Sophia sat inside a protective pyramid, looking totally bored and unhurt. The robots pushed forward, but Sophia released a gravity wave that started burying them in the dirt. More arrows rained down, but Sophia just unleashed another blast that vaporized everything in her path. Shun charged her, but Kairuya blocked him with a demonic blade and a portal. He parried Shun's strike and kicked him into the next time zone. Shun landed on his feet, but definitely left a tooth behind on the battlefield. When an elven army rushed in, Kairuya used a portal to rain down demonic arrows, clearing the field in seconds. 2 more guys tried to jump him, but he parried them effortlessly and called Shun the weakest hero he'd ever seen. He shoved Shun back and went for the kill, but Anna jumped in to take the hit. Desperate to save her, Shun dumped all his mana into healing her. That's when the system announced his proficiency was maxed and Taboo had hit level 10. Shun started screaming in agony as the Taboo info flooded his brain, leaving him vulnerable to a gloating Hugo. Hugo tried to backstab Sophia, but she caught his blade from the shadows without even looking. She grabbed the kid by his hair to finish him, but a blinding light forced her to let go. Her master had finally decided to show up to the party. Meanwhile, Kumo finally finished her messy evolution that I haven't even mentioned yet. She's now an Arachne, which is basically a half-human, half-spider hybrid. She leaves some survival tips for her kids and heads out to find something to do. She looks down to see the city on fire and elves invading the local mansion. The whole place is a total disaster zone. The nobles are panicking while trying to figure out an escape route. They grab the baby and try to make a run for it through the chaos, but they get cornered by raiders in the middle of the night. The man takes an arrow to the leg and keeps getting hit. He's basically a pincushion at this point, but he won't drop the kid. Then the vampire baby bites the man to save his life. That bite turns the guy into a super strong vampire who starts slaughtering everyone. He wipes out the raiders like they were nothing but paper targets. Then the elven leader shows up, and he's actually a threat. He's way stronger than the average elf. He orders more kills, but the new vampire guy keeps fighting to protect the infant. The elf starts a magic circle, but Kumo drops in and punches him square in the jaw. The vampire servant was dying, but Kumo used her magic to patch him up. The elf is baffled, so Kumo tries to barrier him, but he just deactivates her magic. He realizes she's an enemy, gives his name, and charges in. The fight is wild because he keeps neutralizing every spell she tries to cast. She tries to use the walls for mobility, but she can barely move. She uses thought acceleration to find a gap, but the guy is just too technical. Since her stats are being suppressed, she decides to just brawl with him. She lands a counterattack that actually connects, but she notices he's actually some kind of high-tech robot. She knows she needs to finish him before he adapts to her style. Suddenly, the robot pulls a machine gun out of its arm and starts blasting. She dodges most of it, but takes a few hits while trying to close the distance. She manages to strike him even after losing her head, literally. The robot realizes she's too dangerous to let live and pulls out a bazooka. Poor Kumo is stuck dodging rockets while waiting for the perfect opening to strike back. Suddenly, Ariel shows up and demands to know why Potamus is fighting her spider. She slaps the robot's head clean off, promising to turn him into a toaster. With the bot trashed, Ariel offers Kumo a truce and a partnership. She can't actually kill Kumo, and the spider clone in her head is making her feel friendly. Ariel figures it's better to have a broken spider on her side than against her. They shake on it, forming the weirdest alliance in history. Meanwhile, the real Potamus wakes up in his clone lab, seeing Kumo as a legitimate threat. He swears he'll delete her the next time they cross paths. The next day, Kumo and Ariel head out, and Ariel offers her a job in the army. She wants to take down the real Potamus before he ruins the whole world. Ariel recruits the vampire servant and little Sophia too, since they're homeless now anyway. The guy is still adjusting to the whole being a vampire thing. Sophia feels bad, but he's just happy he can protect her for eternity. They all agree to head to demon territory to change the fate of the world. Kumo joins the group, bringing some much-needed firepower to the team. And with that, she's finally on the team with the other heroes. This wraps up our massive story recap for today. I really hope you liked it. Smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to drop a comment below. Type "I love spiders" so I know you stayed until the very end. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. God bless you all. Thanks for watching. Peace out.